Elevators have really become a staple of the spooky side of the internet in recent years. I think there's something about the isolation of it. You're just concealed in this small, quiet metal box. The idea of something going wrong is always nagging at the back of your mind. Who knows who might get on the elevator with you? It's a perfect setting for a good old ghost story or a good old-fashioned paranormal game. I'm your host, James, and these are the top 10 paranormal elevator games you should never play. And we're starting off this list with the elevator game. This is the most well-known paranormal elevator game, and all you need is an elevator and some guts, because playing this might just transport you to another dimension. The elevator game is a nighttime ritual that requires access to a 10-floor elevator. It's usually played alone, but friends can join in. The goal is to reach a different world by following a specific sequence of floor selections. So here are the instructions. Enter the elevator, press the button for the 4th floor, descend to the 2nd floor, go back up to the 6th, return to the 2nd. At this point you might hear a strange voice from the 2nd floor. Ignore it. Press the button for the 10th floor. Once on the 10th, head back down to the 5th. Do not exit the elevator at any point during this sequence. At the 5th floor, a mysterious woman might enter the elevator. Avoid eye contact or interaction with her. Press the button for the 1st floor. If the elevator takes you to the 1st floor, exit immediately without looking back. However, if the elevator starts going up instead, you've entered a different world. To return to our world, re-enter the same elevator and repeat the sequence. If you're lucky, you may just get out alive with a story to tell. If you fail to follow these instructions, though, you may end up stuck in the other world forever. At number 9, we have the Legless Lady game. This game has you conjure the spirit of a woman who died in a mysterious elevator accident. The elevator had been stuck for hours, but when the elevator was finally fixed and the doors opened, the woman was gone. It wasn't until months later when she was discovered at the bottom of the elevator shaft, her legs somehow severed. So let's start with what you'll need. You'll need access to, of course, an elevator, a quiet one, so best to play this at night, and a partner who will act as your guide. You'll start by entering the elevator at the bottom level. Once the doors close, repeat the following: legless lady, catch me if you can. Then press the button to the 2nd floor. Stand facing your guide, close your eyes, and take deep breaths to try and relax. Your guide will start talking and ask you to visualize the elevator as it ascends to the next floor. And once the elevator reaches the floor, picture the doors as they open. Your eyes are still closed, mind you. As the doors open, though, your guide will ask you to describe what's on the other side. You may visualize a dark hallway, but empty. Then let the doors close and begin ascending to each floor, repeating this process. With each floor, the ghost of the legless lady may start appearing at the end of the hallway, moving closer and closer to the elevator with each floor. Keep playing until you feel like she's close enough to reach her hand inside. You don't want to get to that point, because if you do, you may actually feel a cold hand reach out and grab you, dragging you into the depths of the elevator shaft forever. Next up, we have an elevator game story that was shared on Reddit by a now deleted user. It goes as follows. So I had decided to play the elevator game. It was late at night and I had the whole building's elevator to myself. I followed the instructions step by step, feeling a bit skeptical but curious. Around the middle of the game, I start getting this weird, cold, shivery sensation, like the hairs on my arms stood up. And I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off, but kept going. And when it got to the point in the game where you reach the 5th floor, the elevator doors slid open and my heart skipped a beat. This woman walked in. I swear I'd never seen her in the building before. And it was messed up because she had this eerie vibe about her, and her eyes, I can't even describe it. They felt like they were piercing through me, like she knew everything about me. I kept my eyes on my feet, but I just felt hers on me. I didn't know what to do, but I sure as hell didn't want to stick around. I hit the button for the 1st floor, hoping to get out and leave her behind. It felt like an eternity, but eventually the elevator doors opened on the 1st floor. I dashed out without looking back. I can't explain it, but that encounter with the mysterious woman in the elevator still gives me the creeps. I'm not touching that game again. No way. And at number 7 is Elevator. Now, this isn't a game you actually play in the real world. It's a video game, but from what I've heard and seen, it's pretty damn creepy. It's an internet game by Krill VP. The game is pretty simple. It's in first person, and you start by walking down a dimly lit apartment hallway before accessing the elevator. Each floor you land yourself on, you have a new ominous area to explore. There are specters and horrifying creatures awaiting in the shadows. It's a spooky game from what I can see. There's this dark ambient drone the whole time, and it has some liminal space elements to it, which I'm a big fan of. Worth checking out. I mean, no, never play it. This next game on the list is called Elevator Ghost Tag. All you need for this one is an elevator with at least 10 floors, a Ouija board, and you. The game also must be played after midnight, so make sure you're playing this one in a safe building. Rules also don't say anything about needing to play it alone. So you could start this game in your own apartment. This is where the Ouija board is going to come in. Basically, you need to make some sort of contact with the supposed spirit in order for the game to start. Use the Ouija board the way you normally would, and if you manage to make contact with something, ask it if it wants to play. If the planchette moves to yes, then you can proceed. Now you'll head to the elevator and ascend to the top floor. Once you're there, hit the button for the first floor. The object of the game is to get to the very first floor without the elevator stopping on any floors on the way down. If the elevator stops on a floor on the way down and someone else gets on, then the game has failed and you just need to restart. Now, if the elevator stops on a floor and the door's open, but the hallway is empty, well, then whatever you've contacted has caught up with you and you've just lost. As for what your loss entails, I guess that's up to your ghost. Next up, we have an indie horror game called Elevator Dread. So in this game, your task is to deliver flyers to every floor of an apartment building. Only this apartment isn't normal. It's run down, every floor is dimly lit, and there may be some terrifying surprises awaiting you, especially as you get to higher and higher floors. I used to have a job delivering flyers to apartment buildings. It was kind of fun, but definitely nerve-wracking at times, and this game kind of reminds me of just like a more nightmarish version of that. There's so much atmosphere with this game, helps that the graphics are pretty good for an online game. You get to name your price too, which is nice. So turn off the lights and give this one a playthrough. Next on the list is Night Delivery. This is a Japanese indie game produced by developer Chile's Art. In the game, you play a delivery person who's almost finished their shift for the night, but you have one more stop to make. You need to deliver 5 packages to 5 different tenants in a creepy old apartment building. Each person you meet alludes to this strange tenant who lives in the building, and as the game progresses, the tension starts to build. The game really puts you on edge. The tenants you meet are really off-putting. There's this VHS-style grain to the graphics. Very unsettling. At our number 3 spot, we have the Elevator Ritual, the last video game on the list. This game is brought to you by Samson Films and is basically a video game version of the famous elevator game. Of course, here, it's not just an internet urban legend. Things actually do get messed up. You play as Sarah, a student who decides to play the elevator game and ends up coming face to face with something from the beyond, something that wants to keep you in its new realm you find yourself in forever. The game looks great, super gloomy and grungy looking. Once again, plenty of atmosphere here, and the best part about this one is you can play it in VR, so this is not the game for the faint of heart. At second place, we have Tapping Fingers. Now, this is just a really creepy story shared on Reddit, but it does sound like something was playing a game with the user who was riding the elevator. It was shared to Reddit by Sizzlor26 and goes like this. On my previous job, when our building was still under construction, the only floors that were occupied were the 1st, 2nd, 5th, 6th, and 7th. One time I was alone inside the elevator going from 1st to the 6th floor when suddenly it stopped and opened on the 3rd floor. Normally I would just disregard it, but rumors were all over that a ghost was playing around on the vacant floors. So I pressed the close button as fast as I could. When it closed, I heard noises like someone was tapping their fingers on the walls of the elevator. Finally, we have what I'm gonna call the hosting game, Elevator Edition. This game isn't typically played in an elevator, but you need to be in a small windowless room with the surrounding area outside of the room unlit, so an elevator seems like a good venue. Although, in all honesty, you really shouldn't do this as there are matches involved. Please do not set a fire in an elevator. So let's start with what you'll need. You'll need 3 matches, a pen and paper, and in this case, an elevator. Wait until nightfall when it's dark outside. Choose a hosting room, which in this case is the elevator. Move away from the elevator to any room outside it. Recite, "I will be ready soon," as you move through the hallway, circling back to the elevator, aka your hosting room. And once you're back at the elevator, take out your pen and paper. Write an invitation that says you are invited to a gathering hosted by, insert your name. It takes place at, insert whatever current time it is. Bring your friends. Place the written note in the middle of the elevator floor and stand at the doorway facing inwards. Say, "I am ready, you may come in." Turn your back to the elevator and take out the 3 matches. Count from 1 to 10 out loud and then strike the first match. If it lights on the first strike, say, "I am glad to see you. Thank you for coming." If it doesn't light, move to the next step. Strike the second match without counting this time, and then strike the final match. If it lights on the first attempt, say, "I am glad to see you. Thank you for coming." If not, end the game immediately. This means unwanted guests are in the hosting room, possibly bad spirits or even demons. If successful, you'll have 3 spirits in your hosting room. You may hear them moving and whispering behind you, and no matter what you hear, do not turn around at any point. To end the game, exit the elevator and say, "Thank you for coming. Goodbye." With all that said, I've been your host, James, and thank you for coming. Goodbye.